Greetings, this is Bishop William Harris. Welcome to the Living Victorious Show. I'm certainly happy to be able to come into your homes and be able to share the word of the Lord with you today. And certainly we're thanking God for all of you as you move into this great holiday season. Holiday greetings to each of you, and God bless you to you and your families. I want to thank all of our partners literally around the world that join us every week at the same time as we move into certain subjects and whatever the Lord lays upon our heart to share with you. Your partnership, your commitment, and your love is very, very much appreciated. I want to thank you as well for all of your partnership, and thank you for joining us again tonight. I have a very special show for you tonight, and the Lord has blessed me to give you a two-part series. On tonight, I'm going to begin part number 1, and then on next week, I want you to tune back in because we're going to be sharing with you part number 2 of this very, very important class. In this time of the year, usually statistics say that many people deal with depression and oppression and fear and doubt and go through all type of psychological, emotional issues trying to cope, trying to sometimes just keep up with the season and learning what they have, maybe sometime understanding what they don't have, and really not having the ability to cope. I want to teach tonight and also on next Tuesday night from the subject, how to cope with situations you have no control over. How to cope with situations that you have no control over. It's weird how the anxiety and fear that we usually have in our hearts and minds, they usually do more damage than the outcome. Perhaps a relationship that you have been in has come to an end. Maybe you've been made redundant. Maybe you had to move out of a house, something foreclosed. Maybe COVID has set your year or your season up wrong. Maybe a child is out of order. Maybe you're going through a divorce or you relocated and don't have the security that you thought you would have. There could be a plethora of things that you are going through, a plethora of things you're going through to trying to cope. Maybe these things are out of control. But a wise woman once gave some great advice on how to cope with such situations. And there were some questions that were asked. Can you control the outcome? Is this authority in your hands? Well, the answer to that question and to those questions was no. And so a wise lady once said, well, let it go. If you cannot control the outcome, if it's not in your hands, if the answer is no to both of those questions, simply the result should be that you have to let it go. You know, feeling like you have no control when a situation is affecting your life is such a profound issue. And it can be very difficult to cope with. It can take you to a breaking point. There comes a point where many people slip into depression. Some turn to alcohol, some turn to drugs. Others simply run away from the situation. It takes its toll on your mental health. But before you get to that point, I want to help you learn to let some things go. You have to accept that this is happening or it has happened. And there will be a future beyond whatever you're facing today as long as you are still alive. It's an easy thing to say, particularly in hindsight, to let things go. But logically, if you really think about it, this is the only way to move on and give yourself a chance to really be happy. The problem is a lot of people don't actually move on. A lot of people live their lives through the lens of things that would be, or things that could be, or things that should be. But this is your life, and I want to encourage you to let it go and understand that bad things will happen. That's what life is about, good things and bad things. And these things don't always turn out many times as bad as you even think they will. In fact, if you can center your mind for a moment and think back through your life at the many great challenges you have overcome, you will see that good things did follow the bad things. These catastrophic events at that time led to many life experiences that you enjoyed, or in many cases, we become better people for. Indeed, there is growth even in bad experiences. We can't always see the woods for the trees. It's sometimes very difficult to see the woods for the tree, and you've heard that statement before, which is absolutely understandable. But how much of your ability you invest in trying to control a situation you can't control is up to you. So really, when you think about it, there's something you can control. You can control how much you let a situation control you. This thing is going to happen, probably will happen, but might not be as bad as you think or as bad as it could be. So accept that some bad things are going to happen, and accept that there's going to be life after this. In life after the event, you will have control over things that happen. You will also be able to set direction and the pace of change. And as much as possible in life, I should say, you will be able to choose a pathway that you will be able to walk through. Here are some points that I want you to grab tonight. Learn to control the mind, not the uncontrollable. Learn to control your mind and not the uncontrollable. We don't get to control every aspect of our life. Indeed, some could put forth a very good argument that we don't control anything. But we can control how much we let something affect us. You know, the mind is a very powerful instrument, and it takes a lifetime to learn how to tame it. This is part of our personal growth. This is part of our personal journey. We have to learn to understand our mind's trajectory, how we respond to situations, or how we respond in a particular way. We know that our thoughts and feelings and the subsequent behaviors that arise are a result of life programming. Usually comes from a very young age. All of our negative, should I say, and positive experiences are stored up in our subconscious mind. And these dictate the way we respond to life on a daily basis. However, if we can recognize these negative thoughts and feelings when they begin to creep into our minds, we can then take action to preempt and control the prevailing behaviors as well as the outcomes. Here's the bottom line. If you're experiencing a situation at the moment where you feel helpless, like something is slipping away from you, or you're being subjected to something that you can't control, here is the wisdom from Bishop Harris tonight: let it go. The worry and the fear is likely to damage you more than the event itself, because all of the worry and anxiety in the world is not going to stop it from happening, either in full or, should I say, in part. And you don't even know how bad it will be. And if it is as bad as you think, where will your life be this time next year or the year after? You simply just don't know. So stop wasting time worrying and become more effective and more productive. There's a brutal truth in life that some people refuse to accept. You have no control over many of the things that happen in your life. I'll say it again. You have no control over many of the things or events that happen in your life. Some people who resist this truth become control freaks. They micromanage. They refuse to delegate tasks, try to force other people to change. They think if they can gain enough control over other people and situations they find themselves in, they can prevent bad things from happening. Others know that they can't prevent bad things from happening, but they worry about them anyway. They fret about everything from natural disasters to even the pandemic, deadly disease. Their worries keep them occupied, but ultimately they waste time, they waste energy, because worrying never does any good. If you, as a believer, find yourself wasting time worrying about things you can't control, I want to give you 6 things that can help. 6 things that can help you. Number 1, write this down. Determine what you can control. Number 1, determine what you can control. When you find yourself worrying, take a minute to examine the things you have control over. You can't prevent a storm from coming, but you can prepare for it. You can't control how somebody behaves, but you can control how you react. Recognize that sometimes all you can control is your effort and your attitude. Sometimes that's all you can control is your effort and your attitude. When you put your energy into the things you can control, you will be much more effective. You will be much more effective. Number 2, focus on your influence. You can influence people and circumstances, but you can't force things to go your way. I'll say it again. You can influence people and circumstances, but you can't force things to go your way. So while you can give your child the tools they need to get good grades, for example, you cannot make them get a 4.0 GPA. And while you can plan a good party, you cannot make people have fun. To have the most influence, focus on changing your behavior. Be a good role model. Set healthy boundaries for yourself. When you have concerns about somebody else's choices, share your opinion, but only share it once. Don't try to fix people that don't want to be fixed. Never try to fix people that don't want to be fixed. Number 3, identify your fears. Ask yourself, what are you afraid that will happen? Are you predicting a disastrous outcome? Do you doubt your ability to cope with your disappointment? Usually the worst case scenario isn't as tragic as you might envision it. There's a good chance you're stronger than what you really think. But sometimes I've learned in my own experience, people are so busy thinking things like, I can't allow this to happen, or I can't allow this to fail, that they don't take time to ask themselves, what would I do if the business failed? What would I do if I lost the role on my job? Acknowledging that you can handle the worst case scenario can help you put energy into more productive exercises. Instead of always thinking about the positive, sometimes you need to put yourself in a position to think about an exit strategy. If it doesn't work, what would I do? And that means then when tragedy comes, it will not be your first attempt at trying to walk through and process whatever came your way. Hope you've got that. Very, very important information. Number 4, differentiate between ruminating and problem solving. Very, very important. Replaying conversations in your head or imagining catastrophic outcomes over and over again is not helpful. So whenever a person sits around and all they think about is what they lost, all they think about is the catastrophic event or the tragedy, it is not helpful to your mental health. But solving a problem is. So ask yourself whether your thinking is productive. If you have unproductive thinking, it may be the reason why you stay stuck in certain situations. If you're actively, let's say, solving problems, such as by trying to find ways to increase your chances of success or keep on working on situations. Whenever you find yourself in a situation you can't control, don't worry about the stuff you can't control. Handle the things you can. So instead of sitting there and ruminating or continuing to replay the negative situation, find a solution. Start working on solutions. As you work on solutions, you'll find your mental health getting better because now you're not focusing on just what you've lost. Your mind is able to now project on causing something to happen even if there's a negative situation in your environment. If, however, you're wasting time on ruminating or replaying negative situations, change the channel of your brain. Acknowledge that your thoughts aren't helpful. And get up and go do something else for a few minutes to get your brain focused on something more productive. So if you ever find yourself slipping into oppression or even into depression or into fear and to doubt. And you sit there, and I'll tell you when it happens, because you're going to sit there thinking about, oh my God, what have I done? What's going to happen next year? What's going to happen next month? How is my husband going to react to me? How's the boss going? If you do that all day long, you'll find yourself in a cycle that you can't be productive. Change the channel. Shift your focus from replaying the negative to go and try to find a solution for something that's going on in your life. Number 5, write this down. Create a plan to manage your stress. Create a plan to manage your stress. We're going to talk about mental health here, teaching you how to cope with things that are beyond your control. Create a plan for mental stress. Exercising, eating healthy, getting plenty of sleep are a few key things you need to do to take care of yourself. If any of you all that are specifically Christians that are slipping into oppression or depression, some of you are so easy to place that on the devil, when sometimes it's basically you're not exercising. Your chemical balance is off. Exercising regulates your chemical balance, even mental balance. Eating healthy. It's not always the devil. Sometimes you're just omitting certain things you should be doing. Take care of yourself. You also have to make time to manage your stress so that you can operate more effectively. Finding healthy stress relievers. These are the ways that you can release stress, like meditation. Learning to meditate. There are times I get away from everybody if it's just sitting in the car for 15 minutes. And I'm going to get away and meditate. I'm going to just stop. When you say, what do you meditate on? I meditate on anything other than what's negative in my life. Meditate on Christ. Meditate, sometimes it's not even spiritual. I meditate that I'm sitting on a lake fishing. I mean, I just have to get in my mind. Sometimes I actually play a soundtrack of rain, thunderstorms, nature. I play it on my phone, and I'll just sit for 15 minutes or so. And what I'm trying to do is get my mind free, to uncloud my mind from chatter and all of the things that are going on in my life. Sometimes you need a hobby. Find an engaging hobby. Read a book. I've been teaching a lot of my sons and daughters, they've got to read. Every day they should spend 20, 30 minutes in a book. Get your mind off, not even the Bible. You should be doing that anyway. Get your mind, go read something. Get a book, join a book club. Find a way to relieve your stress. These are ways you relieve stress. Spending time with friends, but spend time with friends that ain't going to cause you stress. Everybody needs a friend going to make you laugh. You need to get away. You need to laugh. You need to cut up a little bit. Pay attention to your stress level. And notice how you cope with distress. Eliminating unhealthy coping skills like complaining to others or drinking too much or eating too much. And some of you have fallen into the trap of being an alcoholic, or sometimes you've fallen into the trap of overeating, overindulging. Some of you complain too much. Eliminate unhealthy coping skills. Those are unhealthy coping skills. Complaining all the time. Being negative all the time. Falling into abusive relationships, or abusing your body with substances that you know are damaging to your natural and mental health. Number 6, develop healthy affirmations. Develop healthy affirmations. I have 2 phrases I use to remind myself to either take action or calm down. The first is, make it happen. Whenever I catch myself saying something like that, I hope I do okay today, I remind myself, make it happen. It reminds me that I'm in control of my actions. Nobody is in control of what you're going to do today. You are in total control of what you're going to do today, right? Then when I find myself thinking about something I have no control over, like I hope it doesn't rain on Saturday, I tell myself I can handle it. Those quick little phrases I have on hand keep me from wasting my time on things I can't control. I'll either do what I can do to make it happen, or I'll deal with the things I have no control over. I'll deal with the rain if it comes. I'll get an umbrella, or I have to readjust my schedule if it was something going outside. But I can make certain things happen because I have control over those things. Develop a few healthy mantras that will keep you mentally strong. Those things will help you combat self-doubt or catastrophic predictions and endless replaying of negative situations. The way you think about life will eventually affect your ability to cope with tough times. It is your perspective in life that causes you to cope or not to cope. It is not the situation, it's your perspective. It is not what people are going to do, it's your perspective of the people that's going to do it. Developing a productive inner dialogue is one of the most productive ways mentally to stay strong. When people you see that are great visionaries, they are great visionaries, or you see really, really strong people, it's because they keep building their mental muscles. They're not just as strong as you from a physical perspective. Some of you physically are stronger, but they are mentally stronger because they work on their mental attitude or their mental muscles and repeating positive things, yet realistic affirmations, because they can drown out negative thoughts that you can not control, right? And so if I want to be really strong, I want to build up my mental attitude. I want to have strong mental muscles. I want to have personal words of affirmation. I want to be able to combat negative thoughts. If you can't combat the negative thoughts in your minds that come to you, right, you will be overtaken by those thoughts. The Bible says, think on those things which are pure. Think on those things which are good. Watch this. Think on those things which are a good report. He's teaching you how to have strong mental muscles. He said, if there be any virtue, if there be any good, think on those things. In other words, he said, don't think on what you're going through. Don't think on the negative. Don't think on what you've lost. Think on the good things. And if I can think on the good things, I will eventually drown out all of the bad things that are going on in my life. Now remember, some of you go through life and you're trying to control people, you're trying to control stuff, you're trying to figure out what's going on and how you're going to make it. The truth of the matter is there are some things you cannot control. There are many things beyond your control. If you're going to get sick, you're going to get sick. If you're going to lose the job, you're going to lose the job. If you're going to get laid off, you're going to get laid off. If your kid is not going to act right, they're not going to act right. If you're going to lose the house, you're going to lose the house. But there's no reason for you to fall apart because you have one loss in your life. Learn how to cope. Learn how to live, even with the things you cannot control. Once you do that, you'll find yourself being able to move forward through a plethora of things that hold other people down. You can have two people in the same family. One goes through the same thing and they go through it and they're hurt, but they make it. The other person folds, get addicted to drugs. And you say, well, they're from the same family. How did one make it through it, but the other didn't? It's really about learning to cope. One was able to cope with things they cannot control. The other person could not cope, so they went to alcohol to cope, or they went to another type of relationship to cope, or some people just lose it and move into depression because they cannot cope. They don't have the skills to cope with the things in life that they can not control. And so we want to learn how to do that. We want to learn how to do it. I want to repeat some things because I really want you to understand that, and I want you to catch it. If you find yourself wasting time worrying about things you can't control, I gave you 6 things that are going to help you. Number 1, first determine what you can control. First, determine what you can control. And recognize sometimes all that you can control is your effort and your attitude. Then put energy into the things you can control, and you will be much more effective because you cannot manage things you can't control. It's out of your control. Number 2, the second key that I gave you is number 2, learn to focus on your influence. You can influence people and circumstances, but you can't force things to go your way. So I have to focus on just the areas I can influence. And there's no need in me trying to focus on things that I cannot influence, because if I do that, I'm trying to force something to happen, and it's going to cause me more stress. Number 3, identify your fears. Identify your fears. Find out what those fears are and deal with them. Deal with them. And I often tell people, come up with an exit strategy. Come up with an exit strategy. How you exit a circumstance if it would be negative. It's the same thing that they tell you all. The firemen will tell you every house should have a fire plan. You should tell your kids, whether you're in an apartment or house, if a fire ever happens in our house, here is our plan. Now, we never want a fire to happen, but if it happens, this is the way we're going to exit the house. They say that almost 80% of kids that die in fires was simply because there was no exit strategy for fire. So the kids wake up, smell smoke, panic, don't know how to hit the floor, don't know where to go, and some kids die a few feet away from the front door simply because there was no exit strategy. We're not saying that things will go negative. We're just saying you need to have a plan just in case it does. Number 4, differentiate between ruminating and problem solving. Replaying conversations in your head or imagining catastrophic outcomes over and over is not helpful. But problem solving is. Learning to change the channel from a negative situation to solving a problem. When I help people, I often tell people in transition, here's an issue, but you can use grace. Start solving problems. If you solve problems, it'll at least help your mental health, not focus on just the negativity. Number 5, create a plan to manage your success. Create a plan to manage your success. Very, very important. Find healthy stress relievers, meditation, hobbies, time with friends, time with God. Whatever it is that helps you manage stress, find out what that is. And if you don't know that, get somebody that can help you in that area. Number 6, develop healthy affirmations. I'm going to spend more time on healthy affirmations in part number 2. Part number 2, I'm going to give you 9 ways to remember how to become positive. 9 ways to remember how to come out of a negative situation by simply using healthy affirmations. I'm going to help you, and I want you to write them down in part number 2, because I want you to get these things in your spirit. When you find yourself in negative situations, using realistic affirmations can drown negative thoughts that are holding you back. Some of you are being held back not by the devil or not by the divorce or not by the situations. You're being held back simply because you have negative thoughts. They've left you, but you still have life. That's happened, but you're still alive. People failed you, but God didn't. That job let you go, but there are many other jobs that will hire you. And so we have to understand that, and we have to know how to live beyond that has been catastrophic. Every setback in your life does not mean that it was to stop you. Sometimes God allows things to happen in our life to test us, to train us, to get us better. We should learn from those mistakes. We should learn from negative situations so that we can become stronger, we can become better, and we can become wiser. Learning how to cope with situations that are beyond your control. I pray that part number 1 has been a blessing to you, and I pray that the lesson that I've given to you has been a healthy exercise to help you build your mental health. Helping you build your mental muscles, helping you cope with things that you cannot control. I want you to review the notes today. I hope you wrote down good notes, and if you haven't, I want you to review this class. Go back, write notes down. I want you to use healthy practices and apply the things that we've given to you today, and I believe it's going to help you cope. Even in this holiday season, they are saying that many people have more depression, more fear, more doubt right now, not because of the pandemic, just because of Christmas. It is the highest level of suicide of all year because people can't cope. I want you to learn to cope. I want you to have a holiday season that's great, that's blessed, that's prosperous in God. Coping with life eliminating the things that you cannot control and letting God be the life, the guide, and the director of your life. I pray the class tonight was a blessing to you, and thank you again, all of you that join us every week as we come and give you just nuggets of wisdom, and sometimes Bible classes, sometimes interviews, whatever it is that the Lord places on our heart. This is a platform that we're able to share that with you. We have faithful followers each and every week, and if this class, this show has been a blessing, won't you let us know by writing to us or leaving it in the comment section, inboxing us. Let us know that the Living Victory Show is being a blessing to you and a blessing to your family. If you want to sow into this show, feel free to do that. You can always go and sow. We'll put some things on the screen here so you can go and send a cash app, send an offering if you would like to. This helps us stay on the air. It helps us continue the broadcasting of these shows literally around the world. We know that this show is really reaching hundreds, thousands of people around the world. Your financial support allows us to continue to do the work that we're doing here at the Living Victory Show. This is Bishop William Harris. I love you. Thank you for joining us again. And if you're out there and you're having some issues with coping, or you're going through depression or fear, we got a number that we're going to put on the screen because we want you to call. This number is always available to you 24 hours a day. You find yourself not being able to cope or having mental health issues or just needing a word of prayer. I have prayer counselors on that call, and many times I answer the call. Just call that number, and we'll always pray for you and we'll stand in the gap for you. And sometimes it's a private thing, and you don't want everyone in your church or family to know that you're struggling mentally. And so this is a very confidential line. You can call it any time. We'll be glad to pray with you and stand in the gap for you as you go through this season or a time of stress or of tragic events. We love you. God's peace be with you. Remember, we walk by faith and not by sight. God bless you. We'll see you next week for part number 2.